Rashad Mitchell on my channel. This is the top 50 greatest groups in hip hop history. It's a book that wrote, self-published, a decade ago. Here it is right here. The top 50 greatest groups in hip hop history by Rashad Mitchell. This is what I self-published, I think 10 years ago, about 10 years ago. So it's an old book. So I'm gonna go over that for today on this live feed. Let's get into it. Groups in any genre of music is pivotal to the success of a group, having continuity as a unit. Hip hop is no different when it comes to groups. There have been a plethora of groups in hip hop history, but not all groups were great. In order to be a great group, you have to meet a certain criteria, such as having your own style, classic albums, making hit songs, being influential, even if a group don't sell a lot of records. There have been many groups that have made a significant contribution to the genre of hip hop. Groups like Sugar Hill Gang, Cold Crush Brothers, Grandmaster Flash, and the Furious Five made a great contribution to hip hop, whether they made classic albums or not, or if they didn't sell a lot of records, they still qualify for being a great group. There have been great groups that were together but only for a few years and broke up, such as Sonic, who was the original hip hop band, but only managed to release 3 albums. Third Base was an interracial rap group who made their mark in hip hop, but only for a short period of time. Then they broke up. Pete Rock and CL Smooth was a group that could have been better than Gang Starr. Had a great run from 1991 to 1994, but broke up in 1995. These examples show that you can be a great group for a short time, but still qualify as a great group. Without further ado, these are the top 50 greatest groups in hip hop history. Let's begin. At number 50, I had Third Base, the Anti-Beastie Boys. After the Beastie Boys made their mark as a white group in 1986 with License to Ill, then there was Third Base, which had 2 white frontmen and a black DJ. The trio consisted of MC Serch, Prime Minister Pete Nice, and DJ Richie Rich. The interracial group rose to hip hop prominence during the late 80s and early 90s. Third Base became one of the first successful interracial groups in hip hop history. The early beginnings of Third Base began when DJ Richie Rich was a local DJ and Pete Nice was a major in English at the University of Columbia. He hosted a hip hop show on the Columbia student radio station WKCR FM. MC Serch was performing at clubs and block parties, then released a single called Hey Boy on the independent label Idlers. Sam Seville was a record producer who convinced to make MC Serch and Pete Nice work together in 1987. They called themselves the Three the Hard Way, but before they made their first album, the group's name was changed to Third Base. In 1989, the group released their first album called the Cactus Album, which became very critically acclaimed. The album went gold, which featured a song that would be one of the defining records of their career, called The Gas Face. The song reached number 5 on the Billboard charts, Hot Rap Singles chart. MC Serch had tried, successfully and unsuccessfully, to join up with the Beastie Boys. All right, whoever liked this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Third Base. Hi, Yut. Thanks for tuning in. Third Base signed with Def Jam Records while having a label feud with the Beastie Boys. So the Cactus album was released. Shortly after the Beastie Boys walked out of their contract with the label, the Cactus album directed attacks on the Beasties for going to Capitol Records. So in 1991, the group released Dialects of Dialect, which had a #1 single called Pop Goes the Weasel, which was a song dealing with a new target that Third Base was targeting, which was rapper Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice was also a target on other songs on the album. Pop Goes the Weasel was a direct shot at Vanilla Ice for watering down the sound of rap to cater to a mainstream audience. The process of the song, the album reached gold status. Pop Goes the Weasel had a hidden meaning in terms of having white rappers distancing themselves from a rapper that looks like them. Third Base made their final collaboration on the soundtrack of the movie Gladiator in 1992, then the group called it quits. Despite MC Serch and Pete Nice going their separate ways for other endeavors, the duo never reached the same success as they did when they were in Third Base. But their contributions to the genre of hip hop qualifies them as one of the top 50 greatest groups in hip hop history. At number 49, I had Bone Thugs and Harmony, Flesh and Bone Harmonizers. Who would have thought that a group from the Midwest in Cleveland, Ohio would take the hip hop world by storm? Before LeBron James, there was Bone Thugs and Harmony who put Cleveland on the map. The five-man crew consists of Busy Bone, Lazy Bone, Crazy Bone, Wishbone, and Flesh and Bone. Who would have thought that Easy E from NWA would sign a group from Cleveland? He did just that in 1993, and the rest is history. The group made their debut with Creeping on the Come Up on Ruthless Records in 1994. The breakout hit off the album was Thuggish Ruggish Bone. The album yet reached its peak at number 12 on the Billboard 200 chart and number 2 on the top R&B hip hop albums chart. The other single off the album that was a major success was For the Love of the Money, which which reached number 4 on the Rap Tracks chart. The album broke to the mainstream in terms of the change in style in the group as they embraced the G-funk that was commonplace on the West Coast. DJ Unique would be the standout producer who would craft the signature sound for the next two albums for the group. In 1995, the group released E 1995, 1999, Eternal, which featured hit songs such as First of the Month and The Crossroads. And The Crossroads reached number 1 on the Hot 100 and Hot Rap Tracks chart. The album was a tribute to Eazy-E on behalf of his death. The album dealt with deeper themes with spirituality and occult mysticism. The second album was the group's most commercially successful album, which has been certified 4 times platinum by the RIAA. In 1997, the group released a double album called The Art of War. It was a more mellow sound focused on God and family. The larger portion of the album was dedicated to what the group labeled as clones, who claimed Bone had stolen their quick-tongue rapping style and vice versa. The hits off the album, such as Look Into My Eyes and If I Could Teach the World. The group was able to win an American Music Award due to the success of the album. The album featured a collaboration from Tupac Shakur. In 2000, their fourth album, BTHN Resurrection, reached platinum status. And then in 2002, Thug Order went gold, peaking at number 3 at the top R&B hip hop albums chart. In the final analysis, Bone Thugs and Harmony is the most melodic hip hop group because of their harmonizing and quick staccato rap flow. They are the only hip hop group to do songs with Eazy-E, Tupac, Notorious B.I.G., and Big Pun. At number 48, I got Poor Righteous Teachers, Rules of Righteousness. In 1990, a group from Trenton, New Jersey would contribute with their pro-black content in their music and lyrics in the form of the Poor Righteous Teachers. The trio consisted of Wise Intelligent, Culture Freedom, and the late Father Shaheed. Wise Intelligent was the front-man lyricist in the group who spewed 5% Nation of Gods and Earth's teachings for all to hear. Culture Freedom provided the backing vocals and production. Father Shaheed served as the DJ and producer. The group was founded in 1989. It made its debut by releasing songs like Time to Say Peace and Butt Naked Woody Bless. 1990 would be the year for the group to release their first album, called Holy Intellect. The album was riding the sound wave along with the other pro-black oriented albums of the time, such as Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet, X-Clan to the East Blackwards, and Brand Nubian, One for All. Holy Intellect was critically acclaimed because of their signature sound called Rock This Funky Joint. The majority of the production was from Tony D. In 1991, the group released Pure Poverty, which was an album that was an acclaimed album, but not as commercially successful as their debut. But the album was good in its own right. The standout track was Shaquilla, which dealt with the most respected black woman. Easy Star was another standout song, and I'm Coming Again. Wise Intelligent had the reggae influenced speed rap that was featured on the album. The group will release 3 more albums that didn't reach the success of their first 2 albums, but that doesn't diminish the group's contribution to the genre of hip hop. At number 47, I had Lords of the Underground Overlords. Another group from the Garden State made their mark on the hip hop game. Lords of the Underground, Mr. Funky and Do It All from Newark, New Jersey, and DJ Lord Jasper from Cleveland, Ohio. The group came out swinging with their debut album, Here Come the Lords, that was released in 1993. But the album had 5 charting hit singles such as Psycho, Flow On, Here Come the Lords, Funky Child, and Chief Rocker was their signature song. The album would reach number 13 on the R&B hip hop chart. Keepers of the Funk was their second album, but not as successful as the first album, but featured 3 charting singles such as TikTok, What I'm After, and Faith. The group would release 2 more albums, but it didn't reach that level of their 2 albums. The first two albums. Lords of the Underground is one are still one of the greatest groups of all time. At number 46, I had Showbiz and AG, one for the money, two for the show. Showbiz and AG came out of the Digging in the Crates crew with their own style during the early 90s. The duo came out of the Bronx, New York. In 1992, the group came out with an EP called Soul Clap. Then they released their first full-length album called Runaway Slave. The album was praised as an underground release, but didn't sell strong numbers. Now, songs that stood out from that album was Party Groove Slow, Soul Clap, Catch and Wreck, Fat Pockets, and Bounce to This featuring Dreads from Black Sheep. Now, there was a posse cut called Represent, which featured the late great Big L, Diamond D, Dreads from Black Sheep, Lord Finesse, and Deshaun. Then 3 years later, the group released Goodfellas in 1995. The album's standout song was Next Level, produced by DJ Premier. The song was actually featured on Eminem's movie 8 Mile in 2002. There was positive acclaim that was given to Goodfellas. The album had a darker and hardcore feel and sound than its debut album. Overall, the duo had their best moments from their first two albums. Showbiz is one of the most underrated producers in hip-hop annals. AG, known as Andre the Giant, was underrated as a lyricist. This group brought swagger and soul to the art form of hip-hop in 1992, which qualifies the group as one of the great groups in hip-hop history. At number 45, I had X-Clan. Black Enough For You. X-Clan was the anti-public enemy in terms of being real activists for the Black Watch movement. Brother J was the grand verbalizer riding in the pink Cadillac. Professor X was the overseer, aka the anti-Flavor Flav. Professor X was the son of activist Sonny Carson. Sugar Shaft was the rhythm provider, and Paradise the architect. The group was known for its Afrocentrism and activism. The group had a political stance, and their red, black, and green garb received more attention than the records they released. But in 1990, To the East Blackwoods was the group's first album, which was a classic album. The album had its hit records such as Funkin' Lesson, Heed the Words of the Brother, and Raise the Flag. Brother J was a great underrated lyricist with a smooth delivery. Professor X will always make his appearances at the end of a song with his famous salvo refrain. Vainglorious. This is protected by the red, the black, and the green with the key, sissy. In 1992, the group released Exodus, which was good, but not as great as their debut. The title track and Cosmic Arc was the standout track. Exodus would be the last album from the group, but the J would form the Dark Sun Riders in 1994. Sugar Shaft would die, unfortunately, of AIDS in 1995, and Professor X will pass away, unfortunately, due to spinal meningitis in 2006. Number 44, Organized Confusion, the organization. Organized Confusion was a duo from Queens, New York. Pharoahe Monch, Prince Poetry were riding the wave of alternative hip-hop with a style of their own. The group was not as commercially popular as other groups, but the duo was one of the most respected or acclaimed underground acts in hip-hop during the 90s. What stood out with this group was the groundbreaking lyrics between Prince Poetry and Pharoahe Monch. Before they became Organized Confusion, they were called simply Two Positive MCs. Prince Poetry was the rapper, while Pharoahe was the beatboxer, but Pharoahe decided that his rhyming skills were legit. He decided to be an MC. So the duo caught the eye of producer Paul C, who produced their first demo in the late 80s. They signed a record deal with a small record company in Queens called Solid Sound Records. Two producers named Kevin Osborne and Neil Kelly produced two singles of the group for the group. So the two songs were Memories of Love and Southside in Effect in 1987. Memories of Love didn't receive any radio airplay, so Def Jam Records was trying to sign the group, which led to the group changing their name. The group was shopping the demo to Russell Simmons through Barbito Garcia. Russell wanted the group to change the group's name. The group was shopping the demo to Russell Simmons through Barbito Garcia. Russell wanted the group to change the group's name, but a man named Carlos put out the Organized Confunction record. Carlos felt the group should have the name of the group as Organized Confusion. So he asked the group what they thought of the name, and that's how the name came out. The group would go on to Hollywood Basic Records to sign a record deal. So in 1991, Organized Confusion would release their first self-titled album. The album was totally produced by the group. The album had one great appearance, which was OC on Fudge Pudge. The hit single off the album was Walking to the Sun, which peaked at number 15 on the Hot Rap Singles Chart. The album would be looked at as the underground hip hop album of the 1990s, along with main source Breaking Adams. The duo had intelligent vocabulary and metaphors. In 1994, the group came back together to release Stress, the Extension Agenda, and the tone of the album wore much darker than their debut. The album was considered an underground classic. Pharoah and Prince continued with their pure lyricism. The lead single off the album, Stress, which reached the rap singles chart, the song that stood out from the album, Stray Bullet, was a conceptual song about traveling over Stray Bullet in the first narrative. The group would make one more album in 1997, then the group disbanded in order to pursue solo careers. Pharoah would go down as one of the great underrated rappers in hip hop history. Overall, Organized Confusion is one of the great groups in hip hop history. Next, I'm going to take it to the South, Goodie Mob, Soul of the South. Along with Outkast, Goodie Mob was the trailblazer of Southern hip hop in Atlanta. The four-man crew consisted of CeeLo, T-Mo, Cujo, and Big Git. The group gained national recognition with their compelling debut, Soul Food, in 1995. The lead single off the album was Cell Therapy. There were other standout tracks, such as the title track, Dirty South, which was the first song that coined that phrase, and Guess Who? The first album was a Southern masterpiece due to the extraordinary production, Organized Noise. Soul Food would go on to be certified gold. The second album was Still Standing, which was a good album but not as good as their debut. The lead single off the album was They Don't Dance No More, which was a hit single. Other standout tracks that were hot, such as Black Ice, Fly Away, and Beautiful Skin. The group would release their four more albums but didn't reach the same success as their debut. CeeLo was emerged the biggest star in the group in terms of his successful singing solo career with Gnarls Barkley. Goodie Mob deserve a spot on this list of the top 50 greatest groups in hip hop history. At number 42, Das EFX, Original Rhyme Stylers. Das EFX had an original rhyme style of their own in 1992. The Iggy rhyme style was pioneered by this two-man crew of Dre's and School. The group had a fast-paced flow combined with nonsensical lines. Das EFX was one of those rare groups on the East Coast to reach platinum status with their debut album, Deal Dead Series, released in 1992. Not only was the group unique with their rhyme style, but unique with their videos in terms of being in the sewer, carrying torches in the sewer. No artist in hip-hop history ever did that. The DAS stood for Strays and School, and Effects stood for Effects. The group's rhyme style was nicknamed Sewage. Dead Series was a classic album with classic hit songs like They Want Effects, reached the top 10 on the Billboard charts, and number one on the Hot Rap Charts singing Hot Rap Charts track. Hot Rap Charts chart. Mike Checker and Straight Out the Sewer both reached number one and number three on the Hot Rap Tracks chart. Das EFX's distinctive and unique lyrical delivery was copied by other artists like Laws and Underground, Criss Cross, Common, Jay-Z, The Freesnickens, and even Public Enemy. In the world of R&B, Black Street made a hit song called No Diggity. Das EFX couldn't match the success of their first album, but the debut of the album was powerful enough to be influential on the artists that copied their style. That alone should qualify the group as one of the great groups in hip-hop history. Number 41, Onyx, Attack of the Baldheads. Onyx was another group with their original bald-headed, grimy style. The group was from South Jamaica, Queens, New York. Sticky Fingers, Fredro Starr, Sonny Caesar, BTS represented the group in 1993. The group released Blank, Back the Blank, and the album was an instant classic. The first single off the album was Throw Your Guns, which became an anthem for the group. But the song that defined the group as a whole was a song called Slam. But the song reached number 4 on the Billboard chart. The song to this day was featured in a Gatorade commercial on March of 2014. The album as a whole reached platinum status on the East Coast, which was a rarity during the early 90s. What made Onyx a great group was that they created their own genre of rap, which was a heavy metal roughneck rap. The passion of screaming and anger, the epitomized the hardcore style of Onyx. The rest of their albums didn't match the success of their debut, but their style and growiness solidifies Onyx as one of the great groups in hip hop history. Little Brother, Three the Hard Way. Little Brother came out of nowhere to make two consecutive albums that people to this day don't know about. The three-man crew came from Durham, North Carolina, in the form of hit rapper Big Pooh, Fonte, and DJ producer Knife Wonder. The reason why the group's name was called Little Brother because, according to Fonte, he looked at Tribe, De La Soul, and Public Enemy as the big brothers in the game, so they were the little brothers of the movement of carrying on the tradition of good music. The group definitely lived up to that, to making good music. In 2003, the group released their first album, The Listening, which became a critically acclaimed instant classic. The reason because it all starts with the music production of Knife Wonder, who had a soulful style of producing reminiscent of Pete Rock. Knife used chopped up samples of old soul records. Fontaine Big Pooh was old school with lyrical wordplay. When you listen to this group, you would think they sound like a group from the East Coast, but in reality, they were from the South. Two songs stood out from the album, Whatever You Say, and The Way You Do It. Notable hip hop figures praised the album, such as Questlove from The Roots, Pete Rock, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and DJ Spinner. The second album was released in 2005 called The Minstrel Show, with standout songs such as Loving It and Slow It Down. Or this group might have been the best last of a dying breed, the last great rap group. Slum Village, the Village People. Detroit was supposed to be on the musical side, home of the Motown sound, but they don't rule out the impact hip hop on the city of Detroit because they would be in Eminem or Slum Village. Slum Village was an influential group led by legendary great producer J.D. The other three people in the group was the late Baton, Boston, LZ, and T3. J.D. was a key part as a member of the Umlaut, producing hits for Q-Tip, A Tribe Called Quest, The Far Side, Common, De La Soul, D'Angelo. In 1996, the group released their first album called Fantastic Volume 1. This album was supposed to represent Slum Village as a successor to A Tribe Called Quest. The whole album was produced by J.D. But according to Baton, at the time, Watson at the time, the comparison to Tribe wasn't legit because Slum Village was a contradiction, a paradox. Tribe was more tribal and peaceful, but Slum was nothing like that. The first album dealt with acquiring female interest and wealth. In 2000, the second album would change things in terms of production, which they did with Fantastic Volume 2. The album had huge impact on the underground circuit and was proclaimed as the torchbearers for Tribe. Called It Quits in 1998. J Dilla was lauded for his production style, which featured soul claps and grooves that were subtle. The production would be the blueprint for the direction neo soul would take in the coming years. Four standout tracks stood out from the album: Climax, Players for Love, and Get This Money. Then the next album was Best Kept Secret, but not as good as the previous album. In 2002, J Dilla left the group and to pursue a soul career. Four more albums would be released from the group. Two members of the group would pass away prematurely. J Dilla died with blood disease at age 32. At age 35, Baton died in 2009 at age 35. Slum Village is one of the all-time great groups in hip-hop history. At number 38, I had the Ghetto Boys, The World's the Ghetto. The Ghetto Boys were an influential Southern hip-hop group that put the South on the map. The original Ghetto Boys started with Raheem, Sire, Jukebox, and Sir Rap-A-Lot. The format of the group changed when Willie D, Scarface, Bushwick Bill became the permanent members of the group. The group gained fame for their controversial lyrics about misogyny, gore, psychotic experiences, and necrophilia. In 1989, the group released Grip on That Other Level, which became the album that would lay down the foundation for a new genre of rap, hardcore rap. One song that stood out was Do It Like a G.O. The album was received well from the East and West Coast, but the album that would define the group would be in 1991. We Can't Be Stopped, especially the album cover with Bushwick Bill in the hospital with Willie D and Scarface. Bushwick was shot in the eye and the picture was very graphic. The song off the album that would define the group was My Mind Is Playing Tricks on Me, because it showed that Southern hip hop could be a serious force to be reckoned with. Overall, the group helped put Southern hip hop into the forefront in terms of paving the way for future Southern artists that would emerge from the South, such as Goody Mob, Outkast, Lil Wayne, Chamillionaire, Young Jeezy, and Rick Ross. This is why the Ghetto Boys are one of the great groups in hip hop history. The Fat Boys at number 37 had the Fat Boys, the original Fat Boys. Before Heavy D, Chuck Rock, Notorious B.I.G., and Big Pun, there was the Fat Boys who made it cool to be overweight in the hip hop game. The trio of Prince Marky D, Cool Rock Ski, Big Buff Love, aka the Human Beatbox, came out of Brooklyn, New York. They were called the Disco Three. The group made its debut in 1984 when they released their self-titled album, which was considered a early hip hop classic. There were hits like Jailhouse Rap, Stick'em, Human Beatbox. This album confirmed the group as one of the finest artists in hip hop's second generation, along with Run DMC, LL Cool J, and Houdini. And the album would go gold. That success continued on the second album, which went gold. The Fat Boys are back. The breakout album from the group came in 1987 when they released Cruise Crushing, which went platinum because of a remake of the I think it was Safaris Wipeout, peaked at number 12 on the Billboard chart. Big Buff Love was the member of the group that stood out because he pioneered the human beatbox by using his mouth to create hip hop sounds. No matter how much weight the group had on them, the Fat Boys are one of the great groups in hip hop history. Mobb Deep, I had them at number 36, Steady Mobbing. They consisted of two members, Havoc and Prodigy from Queensbridge, New York. Mobb Deep will go down as one of the critically acclaimed hardcore groups from the East Coast. The group will always be known for their dark hardcore delivery. The original origins of the group began in high school when they became the Prophetical Prophets, but the group name changed to Mobb Deep due to the reputation on the streets. In 1993, the group released their first album called Juvenile Hell. Despite the production work of GZ Premier, Lost Fest, the album didn't sell, so critics dismissed the group as another hardcore group. But things would change in 1995 when the group released the infamous This Album Will Be the group's most crowning achievement of their career. The song that would define the Mobb Deep was Shook Ones, Part 2. The song spoke about the positive perspective of inner city youth engaging in territorial warfare and the struggle for financial gains. The song became an instant classic and the group's signature song. The Infamous was a classic album that was a major contributor of the East Coast revival that was taking place during the mid-90s. The album had its rugged beats and melodies with a haunting style. Havoc and Prodigy did the bulk of the production of the album, along with Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest. The album had famous guest appearances, such as Nas and Raekwon, along with Ghostface Killah from Wu-Tang Clan. Q-Tip made an appearance on Drink the Pain Away. Overall, the Infamous redefined hardcore hip-hop because of the piano loops, synthesized hi-hats, and the sparse bass lines. The album helped catapult the group to being one of the most influential groups in hip-hop. Heavy D and the Boys. Number 35, Nothing But Love. This group, Heavy D and the Boys, brought love and happiness to hip-hop. Heavy D was the original overweight lover who was fun-loving and a rapper that you couldn't hate. The rest of the group had dancers such as G Wiz and Trouble T. Roy. Eddie F was DJ of the group. The group released their first album, Living Noise, in 1987. The hits that came off the album was Mr. Big Stuff, The Overweight Lover in the House, and the crossover hit Don't You Know. Helped establish the first album to be a gold-selling hit. The next album that would be the group's breakout album was Big Time due to the production of Teddy Riley and Marley Marl. New York City was blossoming into full bloom, so Heavy D rode the wave with 3 top 10 songs like Somebody For Me, We Got Our Own Thing, and Girls. They Love Me. The album would go certified platinum. Then next 91, the group released Peaceful Journey. That was a platinum album with the lead single, Now That We Found Love, Then Is It Good To You, and a posse cut, Don't Curse. It was rare at that time to record a record not glorifying profanity. But that was the genius of Heavy D. 3 years later, the group released Nothing But Love in 1994. The album went platinum. It was the second time the group had a record that reached number 1 R&B chart. The hits kept coming with Black Coffee, the title track, and Got Me Waiting. Overall, this group provided the dancing and positive vibes that was unusual in terms of having a big man like Heavy D move the way he did. That is why this group is one of the great groups in hip hop. Number 34, I had the Fugees, Fugila. The Fugees was an eclectic group featuring Pras and Wyclef Jean, and obviously Lauryn Hill, who's multi-talented. This group rose to prominence during the mid-90s. They had a repertoire for including different elements of music such as reggae, hip-hop, soul, and Caribbean music. The group made their first album in 1992, but it took 2 years for the album to be released in 1994. But the album was called Blend on Reality. The song that stood out was Nappy Heads, which went number one on the Billboard Dance Chart, but it was their second album that would catapult the group to superstar status, like The Score. Released in 1996, the group first single of the album was Fujila, where Lawrence Hill sung the reinterpretation of the Tina Marie record called Ooh La La, Ooh La La La. Then came the song that would be the signature song from the group, Killing Me Softly. The song was a remake of Roberta Flack's version of the song. Killing Me Softly would become a hit, reaching number two on the U.S. airplay chart. Now, it has sold since 1.36 million copies in Britain. Then Ready or Not, which was a minor hit in the U.S., but a major hit in Europe and in the United Kingdom, where the song reached number one on the charts. Even President Obama had listed this song as his favorite song. Overall, The Score was the shining moment of the group's career. The album went 6-time platinum, riding away with alternative hip hop that was beginning to be commonplace during the mid to late 90s. That is why Fugees are one of the all-time great groups. Number 33, I got Funky 4 Plus 1, Funky For You. Funky 4 Plus 1 was the first hip-hop group to come out of the Bronx, New York scene to receive a record deal. They were the first group to have a female rapper in the group long before Lauryn Hill and Lady Bug from Difficult Planets, MC Lyte, Roxanne Shante, Salt and Pepper. The first female rapper in the group was Sha-Rock. The rest of the group included Keith Keith, the original Jazzy Jeff, not the one that was with the Fresh Prince, Raheem, who lead the group to join the Furious Five, and Grandmaster Flash, Lil Rodney C, KK Rockwell, and DJ Breakout. Funky made its debut on Enjoy Records with a 16-minute song called Rappin', Rockin' the House in 1979. The group's signature song was the 9-minute song called That's the Joint in 1980. Funky 4 Plus 1 became the first hip-hop group to appear on Saturday Night Live. The group never made a full-length studio album, but the impact of the group stands the test of time. Number 32, I had Black Sheep, Sound of Blackness. Black Sheep was a duo from Queens, New York. The group consisted of Drez and Mr. Lounge, affiliated with the Native Tongues, which featured the Jungle Brothers, De La Soul, and the Tribe Called Quest. After forming together in 1989, the group made its debut in 1991 with a hip song called Flavor in the Other Month. Black Sheep's first album was A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. They were the first group to be on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. But the song, gotta be the first record to be on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. But the song that would define the group was obviously The Choice Is Yours. The song was a top 10 hit, along with Strobe Like Honey, reaching number one on the Billboard charts. The album would go certified gold. This album was the group at its finest, which qualifies them as one of the all-time greats. Number 31 had Nice and Smooth, Perfect Harmony. Now, this group was from New York, including Greg Nice, Smooth B, and a DJ named Teddy Ted. This group was notable for the comedy rhymes and sense of humor, which was rare in 1989. Greg Nice was the rap with his rhyming humor. Smooth B was the slow level rhymes. He had that. And there were 3 songs that started from the album: Early Rise, Funky For You, and No Delaying. So the next album would make Nice Smooth a force to be reckoned with. Ain't a Blank Thing Changed in 1991. Stand-up songs was Sometimes I Rhyme Slow, which was a minor hit. However to Flow was a great song. Cake and Eat It Too. Hip Hop Junkies. These were the finest times for Nice and Smooth, and they made a guest appearance on Gang Star's Dwick because of the rhymes Greg Nice and Smooth B was saying. This group was an underrated group, very great group, but underrated in their prime, establishing their niche as one of the all-time greats. Next, number 30, I had Pete Rock and CL Smooth, the Caramel King, and Chocolate Boy Wonder. Pete Rock and CL Smooth came on the hip-hop scene with a unique soulful sound that no one saw coming in 1991. Now, the crew from Mount Vernon made its debut in 1991 with the All Sold Out, which was an extended play, sort of like a warm-up or sneak preview for what was to come in 1992. The EP was only a 6-song record, but it was a masterpiece. Pete Rock's production was unmatched compared to other producers at the time in 1991. Using obscure soul music samples, horn flute loops would create a signature sound for Pete Rock. CL Smooth was no slouch on the mic with his smooth laid-back flow that fit perfectly with Pete Rock's production. Good Life from the Creator were the standout songs off the EP. Then the number one underrated classic album was birthed in 1992, Mecca and the Soul Brother. For 80 minutes, this album was worth listening to, with Pete Rock's beat acumen combined with solid drums, steady beats, smooth bass, great organ, and the signature home loops of Pete Rock. See how smooth lyrically was fit for the sound wave of Pete Rock. The great hits off this album was They Reminisce Over You, which may go down as one of the top 5 hip hop songs ever made. Straighten It Out, which dealt with the issues of bootlegging and sample clearances. Then Lots of Lovin', which was an incredible love song. All 3 songs were top 10 hits on the Hot Rap Singles chart. Then came The Main Ingredient in 1994, which became an influential album for future producers. The songs off the album was mutually hypnotic, with songs like I Gotta Love and Take You There. But the time of the album was at the wrong year due to the impressive debuts of Nas and Biggie that overshadowed this album, which became an overlooked gem of a classic. But despite charting singles and 2 classic albums under their belt, Pete Rock and CL Smooth could never break through the rap's mainstream. Then the group disbanded in 1995, leaving behind what could have been. But that's how it is in the music industry, because this dynamic duo was one of the best, if not the best hip hop duo of the first half of the 90s, which qualifies them as one of the all time greats. At number 29, Beastie Boys, hip hop punk rockers. Beastie Boys were the first white rap group to have major success in hip hop. The punk rock attitude with the multi layered sampling, the Beastie Boys became one of the great rap groups in the 80s. In 1981, the group consisted of 3 members, Mike D, MCA, and Ad Rock. The group was originally a hardcore punk rock group. In 1983, the group achieved local success with a single called Cookie Puss. The Beastie Boys made their transition to hip hop in 1984. Then they started making successful string of singles. The Beastie Boys toured with Madonna in 1985, and Licensed to Ill was their debut album in 1986. The album became the first rap album to reach to the top of the charts from Billboard. The album had legendary hits like Hold It Now, Hit It, The New Style, Paul Revere, Brass Monkey, You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party, No Sleep to Brooklyn. License to Ill was an album that became the first selling album of the 80s. The album also was Def Jam's fastest selling debut record to date and sold over 5 million copies. Then there was a Paul's Boutique, which was released in 1989. The album was very sample heavy. The sales didn't match the same results as the first album, but the second album was critically acclaimed due to the innovative use of sampling, which helped lead to establish the practice of layering sampling as an art. Paul's Boutique was produced by the Dust Brothers. The hits off the album was Hey Ladies, Shake Your Rump, Johnny Royale, High Plains Drifter, Sounds of Science, and Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun. The album evolved into a unique album due to the influence it had on pop and rap. Even Chuck D of Plug Emmy once said that the dirty little secret among the black hip hop community at the time of release was that Paul's Boutique had the best beats. The group didn't make another album until 1992. Check your head. Overall, the Beastie Boys didn't have anything to prove regarding their place in the annals of hip hop, because their first 2 albums represent their place as one of the all-time greats. At number 28, I had Cypress Hill, hip hop's greatest Latino group. Cypress Hill will always be the greatest Latino group in hip hop history. The group came from Southgate, California. The trio of Sindor, B-Real, DJ Muggs formed Cypress Hill in 1988. The group's name, Cypress Hill, came from the street name in Southgate. The group was the first Latino group to achieve platinum and multi-platinum status for albums selling over 18 million albums worldwide. They were the early seminal group of the rest of the West Coast. The reason for that is because of their first 2 groundbreaking albums. The group was a big advocate for the use of marijuana long before Dr. Dre's The Chronic was ever released. In 1991, the group released their self-titled album. The lead-off single from the album was How Could I Just Kill a Man, which was a huge hit. Then Hand on the Pump and the Funky Feel One was for great hits from the album. The self-titled album would go double platinum, along with creating a blueprint that would be widely copied in hip-hop. What made Cypress Hill great was their distinctive sound, along with B-Real's nasal voice delivery on the album. The group was one of the first rap groups to bridge the gap with fans of both alternative rock and hard rock. The sound and style of the group's first album was very influential, especially on Dr. Dre's The Chronic. The second groundbreaking album would be in 1993, Black Sunday, which was a hip-hop classic and possibly the group's best album. The lead single off the album that became a crossover hit was Insane in the Brain. The song became a huge following for rock audiences. Then there was I Ain't Going Out Like That, which was nominated for Grammys for Best Rap Performance. The album went triple platinum, along with 261,000 copies in its first week, recording the highest sound scan for a rap group at the time. Cypress Hill became the greatest Latino group of all time due to the influential sound and style. Brand Nubian, Brand New Heavyweights. Brand Nubian was a group that came from New Rochelle, New York. This group consists of Grand Puba, Sadat X, Lord Jamal, and DJ Sincere, and DJ Alamo. This group was known for their socially conscious and politically charged content that was inspired by the teachings of the nation of gods and earths. The group is formed in 1989. Grand Puba was a member of Master Ceremonies. Then Brand Nubian released their first single called Brand Nubian. Then in 1990, released their first album, One for All, which was the group's best album, instant classic. The hits off the album was Wake Up, Slow Down, All for One. But Grand Puba would leave the group to pursue a solo career. In 1993, the group remained intact with George Moore, Sadat X with DJ Sincere, and We God We Trust will be the group's second album, which included their hit single Punch Jump Up to Get Beat Down. The next single was Love Me or Leave Me Alone, was another hit. Album peaked at number 4 on the top R&B hip hop albums chart. Um, we also the departure of Grand Puba. The group kept moving with a good album. Grand Puba rejoined the group. Then in 1998, the group released Foundation. The single of the album was Don't Let It Go to Your Head, which was another hit and the biggest of the group's career. Brand Nubian holds their own in terms of being one of the greatest groups in hip hop history. So I had them at number 27. At number 26, I had Jungle Brothers, Jungle Boogie. Now, Jungle Brothers began the Native Tongues era in 1988 with the album Straight Out the Jungle. They consisted of a trio of Mike G, Africa Baby Bam, and Sammy B. They were from New York. What made the Jungle Brothers unique from everyone else was that, at the time, was that the group pioneered the fusion of jazz and hip hop. They became the first group to use a house music producer. The lyrics were very Afrocentric. The beats were innovative. Our House Shoe was the first song that was a non-Chicago hip house record, which became a big club hit. The song changed how the hip hop and dance music industries work. Straight Out the Jungle was a classic album that included hit records like the title track of the album, Straight Out the Jungle, Our House Shoe, Black is Black, featuring Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest, Jim Browski. Straight Out the Jungle will transform hip hop in the next few years. The album contained the seeds of music that will be musical dominant trends in the years to come. The jazzy horn loop samples will help kick off the jazz rap music movement. The group's collaboration with legendary house producer Todd Terry, who produced Our House Shoe, will open up doors for hip house hybrids that will peak up on the dance and pop charts in the next few years. In 1989, the group released their second consecutive classic album, Done by the Forces of Nature. The album was one of the most intellectual hip hop albums, maybe one of the most underrated classic albums in the 80s. The group was raising consciousness with songs like Black Woman, Beyond Your World, Beyond This World. I put Beyond Your World, Beyond This World, Acknowledge Your Own History. I say acknowledge your world, acknowledge your history, own history. And the spiritual in days to come. These were the best times for the Jungle Brothers, which qualifies them as one of the great groups in hip hop history. Sonic is number 25. The original hip hop band. They may go down as the most underrated groups in the hip hop history, Sonic. Due to the fact they were one of the first hip hop groups to use a live band before the Roots. The group was known for their positive, uplifting lyrics made by Sonic, the forerunners of alternative jazz hip hop. They formed in 1979 with Daddy O, Fuquan, Wise, Prince Paul, MC D-Light, DBC, and Bobby Simmons. They were known originally as the Stetson Brothers because of the Stetson hats. But 1986, on the first album On Fire, hits like Go Stetson, Just Say Stet in Africa, but it was their second album, Full Gear, that catapulted them to legendary status, especially the song that would be the signature song that would define the group, talking all that jazz. The album was top 20 hip hop record in 1988. The album was a double album, which was a rare thing in 1988 that had incorporated beatboxing, sampling technology, live band performance. This is kind of an underrated classic album because there were so many classic albums that was out in 1988. So the group would release one more album in 1991, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, but the album didn't reach the same level from their previous record. The signature song of the album was Speaking of a Girl Named Susie. Sonic made that mark in the hip hop game as the original hip hop band. So the Roots definitely owe this group a debt of gratitude. So I got number 24. I had Salt and Pepper, original flavor. Salt and Pepper are definitely, without question, the greatest hip hop girl group of all time. They had 2 female MCs and 1 female DJ. The group Salt and Pepper and DJ Spinderella. The group made their debut called The Showstopper, response to the Dougie Fresh, The Show. 1986, they released their first album, Hot and Cool and Vicious. Hit songs like Mike Sounds Night Tramp, Chick on the Side, Push It, that would be the defining song of the group. The song was a platinum hit. The group was the first female group to go platinum or gold. Then in 1988, the second album came out, Assault with the Deadly Pepper. Shake Your Thing and Everybody Get Up. Then in 1990, Black's Magic was released. Songs like Expression, Let's Talk About Sex. And then best-selling success called Very Necessary. And then the fourth album, hits like Shoot and What a Man featuring In Vogue. Very Necessary will be multi-platinum selling album, which was a first for a female rap group. Overall, Salt and Pepper proved that they can hold their own along with their male counterparts in hip hop. The impact of this group is very powerful in terms of being the first all-woman hip hop group. They found power through their sexuality and flipped the script, changed the look of hip hop. They wore scanty and sexy clothing. Salt and Pepper was not afraid to talk about sex and their thoughts about men. With these contributions, this qualifies the group as one of the great groups in hip hop history. And at number 23, I had Gang Starr, the dedicated ministers of the underground sound. Gang Starr may go down as the most influential MC DJ group of all time. The duo that was dynamic of Guru stands for Gifted Unlimited Rhymes Universal, DJ Premier. The Guru came out of Boston, DJ Premier was from Texas. Originally, Gang Starr didn't start with DJ Premier because the group was founded in 1985. The group at that time had the Guru, DJ 1-2, Be Down, known as Mike D, which included other producers like Donald D, J.V. Johnson, and DJ Mark the 45 King. In 1987 and 1988, the group will release 3 singles on Wild Pitch Records. Then here comes DJ Premier, because the rest of the members left the group except the Guru. DJ Premier was once known as Wax Master C, sent a beat tape to the Guru and he liked what he heard. So in 1989, the duo will release their first album, their first record, a group called Words I Manifest. The song came off their first album called No More Mr. Nice Guy in 1989. There was a song called Positivity, which is a top 20 record. The album would be a sneak preview of the sampling of jazz. For example, the group had a song called Jazz Music. The first album that Gang Starr made would be a prelude to what would define the group in years to come with the jazz-influenced scratching techniques and the hardcore rap elements. But the group's coming out party would be their second album, Step in the Arena, 1981. The album included 3 top 10 hits, including the title track, Who's Gonna Take the Weight, the song that would arguably define the group, Just to Get a Wreck. This album would be the group's first classic album. Step in the Arena will catapult the group to underground stardom. In 1992, the classics kept coming with Deadly Operation. The album represented the gritty sound of Brooklyn hip-hop in the early 90s. The 2 songs that set out was the 2 top 5 records, Take It Personal and Ex Girl to the Next Girl. Then in 1994, they released Hard to Earn, which included more hits featuring a more harder, stripped-down sound. Mass Appeal, Dwick, Hold of the Streets. In 1998, Gang Starr would come together to make Moment of Truth, which was another classic album. This album would be the group's most commercially successful album because the album went gold. It was weird because the group collaborated with Casey and JoJo from Jodeci on a song called Royalty, but that's probably the reason why the album went gold. But the group's first single was You Know My Steez. The group would make their final album together called The Owners in 2003. Overall, Gang Starr would go down as the greatest group never to have a platinum record, or win a Grammy award. Guru will go down as the most underrated rapper in the history of hip-hop due to his monotone delivery that set him apart from other MCs during the early 90s. As for DJ Premier, his body work speaks for itself. At number 22, I had The Far Side, alternative hip-hop sense of humor. This group was from South Central Los Angeles. They didn't go with the norm of the gangster rap that was prevalent in 1992. Instead, the group provided the niche of their own alternative hip-hop with a sense of humor. The group consisted of 4 members, Slim Kid 3, Amani, Booty Brown, and Fat Lip. They released their first album, Bizarre Ride to the Far Side, in 1992. The group had represented a breath of fresh air in terms of musically not following the gangster rap phase, but in an alternative record that dealt with humor that was lighthearted and playful. The wacky storytelling skills, along with their playfulness, provide the necessary alternative from the hardcore rap scene that was commonplace at the time. The song that would define the group, Pass Me By. That was the song that defined the group. It was about a schoolboy crush gone bad. The album was widely quickly acclaimed despite moderate success and sales. Bizarre Ride was the beginning of the new wave of the alternative scene on the West Coast. The group's second album would be different from their first album, that Lab Cabin, California. The album was different because the album was more introspective and mellow. There were two hits off the album, Drop and Running. The group would release two more albums, but it didn't match the success of the group's first two albums. Because overall, the Four Side established their own identity that was soulful, hilarious, and original. Instead, the group kept it unique over following a trend. And number 21 had Souls of Mischief. Souls the Alternative. They was a group from Oakland, California, who rode the new wave of alternative hip hop on the West Coast. The foursome of A Plus, Opio, Festo, and Tudgy formed the group in 1991. The group was part of the hip hop collective Hieroglyphics, which included Dell, Funky Homo Sapien, Casual, Pep Love, J Biz, and producer Domino. The group's claim to fame was their first album, 93 to Infinity, in 1993. The group was a top 20 hip album. The album was a top 20 hip album, which became an underrated seminal classic of the West Coast Underground. The hits off the album was the title That's Why You Lost, Never Know More, Let Them Know. The group was great for storytellers. The group released five more albums, but they never reached the same success as their first one. Souls of Mischief redefined the art of lyrical technique for the West Coast, which is why they qualify as one of the greatest groups in hip hop history. At number 20, Knowing by Nature, Kings of the Hip Hop Anthem. Knowing by Nature was the king hip hop group from the East Orange, New Jersey, who were the undisputed kings of the hip hop anthem. Whether it was OPP, Uptown Anthem, and Hip Hop Hooray, this group was one of the few hip hop acts to be balanced success on the group pop charts, with the ability to have the credibility of being hardcore on the same time. At the same time, the three-man crew included Tretch, Finn Rock, and DJ KG. The group was formed in 1988. In 1991, the group released their self-titled second album that included the song that would define the group, OPP. This was a classic hit that stood for other people's property. The song was one of the first rap songs to become a pop hit when it reached number 6 in the U.S. The song OPP became a popular catchphrase down with OPP in the early 90s. The hits kept coming. With Everything's Gonna Be Alright, which was a song about Tretch living in poverty, at the same time trying to rise up to a life, to live a better life. These two songs helped the album become platinum. Then the next album anthem from the group was Uptown Anthem off the soundtrack of the Juice, the movie Juice. Then in 1993, the group continued with the wave of anthems with Hip Hop Hooray off the album 1993. 1993. The album would go platinum once again, including a top 5 album. In 1995, the group would make another anthem from their illustrious catalog, Feel Me Flow, off the album Poverty Paradise. The song would be a top 3 hit. In 1996, the group won a Grammy Award for Best Rap Album. Overall, Knowing by Nature made their mark on the game of hip hop with their ability to combine the pop chart success with being hardcore at the same time. That certifies this group as one of the greatest groups of all time. Number 19, I had Kid and Play, Fun and Games. Now, this group was known for their dance routines along with positive lyrics. Duo of Christopher Kid Reed, Christopher Play Martin from New York. Kid was known for the high top fade, which stood 10 inches high. Play was known for wearing 8-ball jackets. They were known for doing dance routines like the Funky Charleston. This trademark was the Kid and Play Kick Step. The group released 3 albums: 1988's Too Hype, 1990's Fun House, respectively went gold. In 1991, Face the Nation. On the first album, the group released 3 hit singles, including Rock With, Rolling With the Kid and Play, To Play, and Getting Funky. Overall, the album was a top 10 album. The second album was 2 hit singles, Fun House. And back to basics. The third album wasn't as successful as the first 2 albums, but the group had a number 1 hit song called Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody. What made this group was their ability to dance and make records, but also balance that with being successful as actors, whether it was the house party movies or having their own cartoon show. But Kid and Play showed that just because you are a rap artist doesn't mean you have to be put in a box. You can branch out, do other things to become a more marketable commodity. All right, number 18, Ultramagnetic MCs, the Ultramagnetic Underground Sound Aesthetic. Ultramagnetic MCs were the original hip-hop weirdos from the Bronx, New York. 4-man crew of Kool Keith, that later known as Dr. Otacon, Mo Love, T.R. Love, and Said G, The group provided their own niche within the old school pantheon of hip hop. Ultramagnetic MCs did a lot first in hip hop that people probably never give the crew credit for. They were the first rap group to employ a sampler as an instrument, the first rap group to feature extensive use of live instrumentation, the first rap group to feature a former psychiatric patient in Kool Keith on the mic. They were the early songs like Something Else and Space Groove, which was black party staples on the underground circuit that led the group to land a deal on the label Next Plateau Records. The group will release their first album, Critical Breakdown, in 1988. The album will be at the vanguard of the defining underground sound. The album was a new school classic due to the original sounds of producer Said G, who would usher in the golden era of sampling. Critical Beatdown featured sample techniques before Pete Rock was using the SB1200. It was Said G that was using the equipment. Kool Keith and Said G's abstract rhymes, along with its sampling experiments, was very influential on Public Enemy to gangster rap to several underground hip hop artists. The album had a lot of hit records such as Eagle Trippin', Ease Back, Traveling at the Speed of Thought, Funky, Watch Me Now, and Give the Drummer Some. The song Eagle Trippin' was the first song that sampled Melvin Bliss's synthetic substitution. The breakbeat in years to come would be a favorite record to sample for other rap producers. The Bomb Squad, which was the production team for Public Enemy, cited Critical Beatdown as a major influence for it. It takes the nation millions to hold us back to be made. That was why this group is on this list. But despite the greatness of the first album, Ultramagnetic MCs could not match what they did on their first album, the rest of the albums that they released. But that doesn't diminish the group's contributions and their place in the annals of hip hop because of their cutting edge sampling, polysyllabic rhymes, and bizarre lyrical imagery created a new genre of rap, underground rap, which qualifies them as one of the greatest groups in hip hop history. De La Soul, number 17, De La Soul, the originators, definitely. They also never went with the norm, but always against the grain. The group made its debut in 1989 with 3 Feet High and Rising, which will be a hip hop classic. The group was from Long Island, New York, which was best known for their sampling, which was eclectic. Lyrics that was quirky. The major contributions to the evolution of jazz rap, so alternative hip hop to some genres. The members of the group was Pasanus, Trugoy, and Maceo. 3 Feet High and Rising was the beginning of the third generation of hip hop due to its innocence. The album was unique because of the skits, sampling, and innovation. De La Soul broke the tradition of how a record sounded in terms of how a rap album should be. The sampling of the album was what stood out because the group had the freedom to sample any records they wanted to use, but Prince Ball was the primary producer on the album. 3 Feet High and Rising would play a significant part in stricter laws for sampling in the U.S. Songs that stood out was Me, Myself, and I, Potholes in My Lawn, Buddy, Say No Go, and Plug Tuning. The album was a number one hit. Proved that you didn't have to follow a trend, but create an alternative to sell records. Second album would be a classic called De La Soul is Dead, 1971, due to the hippie label that put the group in a box. The group wanted to shed their label and be comfortable in their own skin. So the second album would prove that with hit songs like Ring Ring Ring, a roller skating jam called Saturdays, overall the album signaled the end of the Daisy Age. Blue Mind State was the third record from the group, which evolved with a new sound. For example, Maceo Parker played the saxophone on I'll Be Blowing. But the standout song from the album was Baker Dawn as a whole. The album spoke to the group's refusal to change their style of music to be popular. The group's fourth album was Stakes is High, which was addressing the state of hip hop and its commercialization. De La Soul overall changed the rules of the game in terms of the sound, the look, and image of hip hop. At number 16, I got Houdini, The Magic Touch. This three-man trio from Brooklyn was among the first hip hop groups to cultivate a high-profile national following for hip hop music and made significant strides for urban radio. This group consists of Jalil, Ecstasy, and Grandmaster D. In 1983, the group released their self-titled album debut, which included hit songs like Magic Wands and The Haunted House of Rock. 1984, the group released Escape, which included 5 Minutes of Funk, Friends, and The Freaks That Come Out at Night. The album was the first album to use the synclavier, which was a digital synthesizer and sampling system. Houdini were the pioneers in the field of sampling because Escape would go platinum in the group's first classic album. The group's third album was Black in Black, with hit songs like Funky Beat and One Love. The album was certified platinum. Now, Houdini held their own with the other rap groups during the mid 80s. The group sold records and made classic hits, which qualifies them as one of the greatest groups in hip hop history. Number 15 got Black Moon, the revivers of the East Coast hip hop. Black Moon's place in hip hop history is sort of mysterious because when they made their debut in 1992, the song "Who Got the Props," it was the tone setter for the revival of East Coast hip hop during the mid 90s. The song became an underground phenomenon. In 1993, the group released an album that would create a climate of the East Coast hip hop renaissance. Black Moon stood for brothers who lyrically act, and combine kicking music out on nations. Into the Stage will be a seminal underground classic that sells over 350,000 copies. With hits How Many MCs, Buck 'em Down, I Got You Open, which was the remix. Into the Stage preceded albums that was credited for the resurgence of the New York hip hop scene, such as Into the Wu Tang, Illmatic, Ready to Die, Only Built for the Cuban Links, and The Infamous. But Black Moon's first album should not be ignored due to their contributions to the revival of the New York hip hop scene. For example, look at the production style of the Beat Miners, in the form of DJ Evil D and Mr. Walt. This production style was different from DJ Premier, Pete Rock, RZA, and Lost Professor. The Beat Miners used hard drums, grimy horn arrangements, and deep bass lines. The influence of the album was major on Biggie Small's Suicidal Thoughts, and Noriega's Thuggery got the roots from this album. Into the Stage was a turning point in hip hop, which defined an era. Overall, Black Moon's contribution to hip hop was major. When you look at the supergroup of the Boot Camp Click, which spawned the careers of Smith and Wesson and Helter Skelter, Black Moon will go down as one of the greatest groups in hip hop. Number 14, Outkast. I had number 14, Outkast. The South Had Something to Say. Outkast was a group that featured Andre 3000 Big Boy from Atlanta, Georgia, with something to prove that the South had something to say. In 1994, the group released Southern Playlistic Classic Music, which proved that the South was going to be a force to be reckoned with the production of Organized Noise or Outkast crafted an album with live instrumentation with the elements of funk and soul. The group addressed the urban life in the South. The album featured hits like Players Ball, The Title Track, and Get Up, Get Out. The group's first album was a seminal album for Southern hip hop. The album made the East and West Coast recognize that the South had to be paid attention to. The second album, It's the Aliens, will be another classic with hits like the title track, Elevators, and Jazzy Bell. The album would go double platinum. The album that would be even more critically acclaimed was Aquemini. In 1998, the concept of the album was about dealt with addiction, human nature, and relationships. The title of the album came from the duo Zodiac Signs. The album would go certified double platinum. The album had a share of hits such as Rosa Parks, Skewed on a Barbie, The Art of Storytelling. Aquemini would be the group's third consecutive classic album. Then in 2000, the group released Stank On Ya. The album was quadruple platinum. Songs like Bombs Over Baghdad, Miss Jackson, So Fresh, So Clean. Overall, Outkast did the impossible in terms of creating their own niche in the hip hop game with a southern way of doing things. EPMD, number 13, I had EPMD, hip hop's original Funketeers. Before the Dr. Dre G Funk era, there was EPMD, who would lay the foundation for hip hop that would feature funk samples from Parliament Funkadelic, Roger Troutman, and Zapp. EPMD stood for Eric and Paris Making Dollars. The dynamic duo of Eric Sermon and Paris Smith had monotone rapping styles, coming from Brickwood, Long Island. The two themes from the group was about dissing sucking MCs and sexual exploits. The group's first album was 1988's Strictly Business. The album was a classic. Hits like the title track, Strictly Business, You Got to Chill, It's My Thing, You're a Customer. The album would go certified platinum and certified gold. Then 1989, the same result would be a gold album with an album called Unfinished Business. Hits like that, So What You're Saying. The album was a number one hit. Then the streak of success continued in 1990 with Business as Usual, which went gold. The album had its standout hits like Gold Digger, Rampage, featuring LL Cool J, Give the People. 2 years later, the group released Business Never Personal, which became another certified gold album. The hits kept coming with Crossover, which was the group's most mainstream successful song. Then one of the greatest posse songs of all time was Headbanger, featuring Redman, and K Solo. EPMD established their own funk aesthetic in the game of hip hop, which qualifies them as the greatest group, one of the greatest groups in hip hop history. Number 12, The Roots, Strictly Roots. Stetsasonic was the original hip hop band, then it came The Roots from Philadelphia. Continued to continue that live band aesthetic in their own way. The group included Black Thought, Questlove, Malik B, Leonard Hubbard, and Josh Abrams. The Roots are known for their jazzy, eclectic approach to hip hop, which featured live musical instruments. The group had, at the time, released 11 studio albums. The album would begin the album that would begin the path to prominence was the 1995 Do You Want More, which was the group's major label debut. The album was heard as a classic of hip hop jazz. The album had hit songs like The Strokes the Stack, Proceed, and Silent Treatment. Then in 1996, the group released Philadelphia Half-Life, hits like Clones and What They Do. But 3 years later, the Roots released Things Fall Apart, which led to a gold album. In 2013, the album was platinum status. The album would be the group's breakthrough when they were nominated for a Grammy Award. You Got Me was the lead single that won the 2000 Grammy Award for Best Rap Performance by a duo or group. Or the Roots had their own identity in the music of hip hop in terms of Black Thought's lyricism, and Questlove's production qualifies the Roots as one of the greatest groups in hip hop. And number 11, Boogie Down Productions, Spirit of the Boogie. BDP was at the vanguard of the origins of gangster rap along with Schoolie D. The group consists of the frontman KRS-One, DJ D-Nice, and the late DJ Scholar Rock. The name Boogie Down came from the South Bronx section of the Bronx. The group were pioneers in the fusion of dance hall, reggae, and hip-hop music. The first album of the group was the landmark classic Criminal Minded, which described the harsh realities of life in the South Bronx in the late 80s, setting the stage for a new genre of rap, which would become gangster rap. Criminal Minded was released on March 3rd, 1987. The album cover featured KRS-One, Scholar Rock, brandishing on firearms. The production of Said Jeet with Ultramagnetic MCs made a great contribution to the album. Hits off the album was South Bronx, and The Bridge Is Over. Scotland Rock contributed with reggae-influenced beats. Quidwad was part of the growing gangster rap movement. The Jamaican roots played a role in the growing process for the group. Next thing, BDP moved in another direction due to the untimely shooting death of DJ Scholar Rock, with By All Means Necessary. The album was a complete 360 in terms of KRS-One direction, from leaving behind the violence that was glorified in Criminal Minded to renouncing violence. My Philosophy was the turning point of a song that showed the transformation of KRS-One becoming the teacher as a moniker. The album went gold, certified gold. 1989, the movement continued with Ghetto Music, the blueprint of hip hop. KRS-One stressing the importance of knowing your history on You Must Learn, or addressing the importance of mentioning blacks in the Bible on Why Is That. The Style You Haven't Done Yet was a song dealing with the innovation of KRS-One's first time rhyme style. The album went gold in 1989. So in 1990, Entertainment was an album that dealt with Afrocentricity, homelessness, racism, and police brutality. The two songs were Love's Gonna Get You, which dealt with the danger of scheming or falling in love with someone or something, and you know the rules. The album went certified gold. In 1992, the group released their final album, Sex and Violence. The album didn't sell as much as their previous efforts. BDP was a force to be reckoned with in terms of their sound, message, unique influence on the game of hip hop. Now we get into the top 10. At number 10, I had Wu-Tang Clan, the Clan in the front. Wu-Tang Clan is number 10, number 10, the 10th greatest group in hip hop history, because when they emerged on the hip hop scene in 1992, the uncompromising style that was never seen before in hip hop, with the kung fu imagery, the 5% philosophy. Wu-Tang formed like Voltron to become a unified front. They came from Staten Island. 9 members: RZA, Jizza, Method Man, Raekwon, Ghostface Killer, Inspector Deck, You God, Master Killer, Old Dirty Bastard. Protect the Net was the first salvo song in terms of the direction that group was going in. It was the tone setter. For the album Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers in 1993. The title of the album came from a martial arts movie called The 36th Chamber of Shaolin in 1978. RZA was revolutionary with his beats that was heavy and eerie, using martial arts movie, including martial art movie samples, movie like stuff from the movie, including soul music samples. The album will become part of this resurgence of East Coast Renaissance hip hop during the mid 90s. The album was released on November 9th, 1993. Songs like Method Man, Can It All Be So Simple, and Cream, Cash Rules Everything Around Me. That was the acronym, the slang term for money. The acronym will be used by other artists in years to come. So in 36 Chambers, it meant 9 members. The number 9 from the 5% philosophy meant bringing everything into existence. Four for 4 chambers of the heart, which equaled 36 chambers in total. The album cover was unique, but the members of the group had their faces covered with masks. The album would go platinum 2 years later. Into the Wu-Tang, lyrically wise, represented explicit, humorous, and free associative lyrics that will set a template for many hip-hop records in years to come. This was the greatest moment in the entire career of the Wu-Tang. The group will release more albums, but none of them can match the greatness of their first album. Overall, RZA, as a producer, was very influential. Producers like Knife Wonder with the soul sampling style, Kanye West, Just Blaze, even the production of the two Mobb Deep albums, The Infamous and Hell on Earth. The group will have sold record deals, which was unprecedented and reinventing how hip hop was structured as a business model. Of all these contributions, it will result and lead the Wu-Tang Clan as one of the greatest groups of all time. Number 9, NWA. Gangsta rap didn't start in the West, but in the East with the rap artists like Schoolie D and Rap BDP. But out West, a group from Compton, California would take gangsta rap to the highest of heights in the form of NWA, which stood for Blank with Attitudes. The group consists of the late Eazy-E, Ice Cube, MC Rent, Dr. Dre, DJ Yella. The group will release Straight Outta Compton in 1988. That marked a watershed moment which led to the beginning of a new gangster rap era in terms of the production and social commentary in their lyrics, which was very revolutionary within the genre. Straight Outta Compton was the album that made a big impact on the evolution of West Coast hip hop. We defined the direction of hip hop. This album, the hits off the album was the Child Track, Gangsta Gangsta, Express Yourself. The album was the first album to reach platinum status without airplay on the radio in major tours. The second album was their last album, Blank for Life, with hits like Always Into Something and Appetite for Destruction. The album was number 1 in the charts. Overall, NWA showed that the West Coast hip hop could be just as formidable as the East Coast hip hop. A few years, the West Coast gangster rap would spread like wildfire, be a dominant force in the early 90s. At number 8, I had Sugar Hill Gang. Don't Sleep on Jersey's Finest. This group from Englewood, New Jersey, the 3 members of the group was Master G, Wonder Mike, and Big Bank Hank. Sugar Hill Gang was the first group to inaugurate recorded hip hop with a song, Rappers Delight. The song would be a multi-platinum seller and radio hit. They say 9 Rappers Delight will become Rap's first crossover hit. Grandmaster Caz from the Cold Crush Brothers wrote the verse for Big Bang Hank, but Caz never got the writing credit. After that, the group never reached the same level of success as Rappers Delight. They had minor hits like Apache and Nathan Wonder. The reason why Sugar Hill Gang is in the top 10 because they showed that hip hop as an art form could be successful worldwide, let alone being from New Jersey, not New York. This group was the first rap act to record a full-length album. Sugar Hill Gang exposed hip hop to millions of listeners around the world, paving the way for future rap song groups like Run DMC, who deemed to have hip hop mainstream success. And number 7, Cold Crush Brothers. Cold as the ice, long ago. The Cold Crush Brothers were one of the early hip hop acts during the late 70s. The crew was from the Bronx, New York. The members of the group was original DJ Tony Tone, Supreme Easy AD, DJ Charlie Chase, Ripper Whip, Mr. T, Grandmaster Caz, and Dada Rock. The group was known for their memorable routines, including harmonies, melodies, and stage stomping performances. Cold Crush Brothers were the standard bearers for MCing. They were called the Rolling Stones of hip hop. The group had a lyrical battle against the Fantastic Four On July 3rd, 1981, they had a rap battle for $1,000. Fantastic Four won the battle, but the Cold Crush Brothers won the war. Fans felt the Cold Crush Brothers won the war. With that reaction, that started the beginning of the end for the Fantastic Four. The Cold Crush was declared the best group in the hip hop. The group began releasing records commercially. Their first single was Weekend in the fall of 1982. The song was a dance and party record that everyday people could relate to. Next single was Punk Rock Rap 1983 on Epic Records. For the first time in hip hop history that an independent rap label, Tough City Records, along with CBS Records, worked together. Punk Rock Rap was the first rap song to use hip hop and rock together in terms of breaking the color barrier in the hip hop. In 1984, the group made a song called Fresh, Wild, Fly, and Bold, which sold 16,000 units, was a big deal in the early 80s. The group was in the movie Wild Style in 1982 depicting hip hop culture. Cold Crush Brothers played an integral role in globalizing hip hop culture around the world in the foreign market like Japan and France. Overall, this group was a pioneering group. When you look at DJ Charlie Chase as the first Latino DJ who co-founded the group, Grandmaster Caz, who emerged as one of the top three MCs in the first generation of great rappers alongside Melly Mel and Kool Moe Dee. Number 6, the Treacherous Three. Three is the magic number. The Treacherous Three was a pioneering hip hop group that was formed in 1978. It consisted of DJ Easy Lee, Kool Moe Dee, LA Sunshine, Special K, and Spooty G. The group's first single was The New Rap Language, which dealt with the new rhyme style that will influence future rappers in years to come. The song represented a faster paced style of rhyming. The next song was Body Rock, which was the first rap song to include guitars in the song. Overall, this group earned the right to be in the top 10 due to the legacy of the pioneering original fast rapping style. The influence of the group was major on rappers like T-La Rock, LL Cool J, and Rakim. The group was first to represent lyrical rap. The Treacherous Three was the first group to perform in Brazil, Holland, and Bermuda, including traveling to 14 different countries. Now we move to the top 5. I got Eric B. and Rakim. It Takes Two. This the dynamic duo carved their own identity as arguably the most influential DJ MC combo in contemporary pop music. The revolutionary began in 1986. They debuted a single Eric B. as president. Eric B. used the bassline sample from Fonda Ray's Over Like a Fat Rat. The interesting thing about this record was that Rakim thought the bassline was the funniest thing he ever heard, but Eric B. told him that he was going to be laughing all the way to the bank and be a millionaire one day. The self-fulfilling prophecy came to pass. Paid in Full would go down as one of the landmark, influential, legendary albums of all time in 1987. Now, Eric B's President was a song that showed the sneak preview of Rakim's innovative lyrical technique. I came in the door, I said it before, I never let the mic magnetize me no more. That verse signaled the end of the yelling rap style that Melly Mel, LL Cool J, and Run DMC was using at the time. These rappers used their vocals with high energy, but Rakim employed a stoic, relaxed lyrical delivery that would be the standard for future rappers in years to come. I ain't no joke. Continued the Rakim slow flow crusade, but also Eric B's scratching technique on the record. Rakim's first verse represented the slow flow. Like I write a rhyme and graffiti in every time you see me in deep concentration because I'm no comedian. Then it was I Know You Got Soul as the third single. Rakim was saying pump up the volume, which would become memorable. Then it was Move the Crowd, and the final single off the album was the title track. Paid in Full became one of the group's most successful singles in their career. The bassline sample came from 1984's Dennis Edwards and Seattle Garrett. Don't Look Any Further. Overall, Paid in Full was the benchmark for the golden age of hip hop. Eric B, his production style was influential with the heavy sampling. Rakim's rapping pioneered the internal rhyme style by setting a high standard for lyricism. In 1988, Flower the Leader was the second album, and the title track was a song where Rakim's lyrical wordplay takes the listener on a voyage to outer space. Follow me into a solo, getting the flow. and you can picture like a photo. Then Microphone Fiend was probably Rakim's signature song, R&B's finest for soul samples, which used a sample from average white bands like 75, Schoolboy Crush. Became one of the most quoted songs in hip hop history in 1990. The group released Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em, and the sound of the album was more smoother than with the harder edge, especially on the title track. It was more of a deeper, aggressive tone of voice for Rakim. Songs like In the Ghetto showed Rakim's ability to not only address how great he was on the mic, but address the social commentary about the ghetto. The production of that record, in terms of different producers contributing to the album, like Paul C. with Lost Professor, 1992, the group released their final album. Don't sweat the technique. Overall, Eric B's contribution with his production style was trailblazing, and Rakim is arguably the greatest rapper to ever bless the mic. Number four, you got Public Enemy, the revolutionaries of hip hop. Public Enemy was the revolutionary of a hip hop group coming out of Long Island. It was due to the politically charged lyrics and criticism of the media, led by Chuck D, the greatest voice in hip hop history, followed by Flavor Flav, Professor Griff, DJ Lord, Terminator X, and S1Ws. Public Enemy first four albums went either gold or platinum. They were inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2013. They made a debut in 1987 with Yo Bum Rush the Show, which was a prelude to stardom. Songs like stood out was Public Enemy number one, You're Gonna Get Yours, music usually weighs a ton. The album expressed the anger and rage for what was to come in their future albums in 1988. The second album, Public Enemies, It Takes a Nation Man to Hold Us Back. The album was not only the first classic album from the group, but this album could arguably be the greatest album ever made in music history. It was Takes Millions of Nations Hold Us Back was the hip hop equivalent of Marvin Gaye's What's Going On due to its strong commentary. The group had intentions of making the music at a faster tempo. The production style of the album was credited by the Bomb Squad, Hank Shocklee, Eric Saller, Keith Shocklee, and Chuck D. Songs that was commonplace from this album was Rebel Without a Pause, Bring the Noise, Now the Living Dead, Black Steel, The Hour of Chaos, and Don't Believe the Hype. The album was certified platinum. In 1990, the third album was Fear of a Black Planet. The album dealt with empowerment in the black community and black nationalism. The concept of the album was exploring Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's theory of color, confrontation, and racism. The album cover was Chuck D's concept of two planets, the black planet and Earth eclipsing. For the songs that stood out, I was going to work it out. Welcome to the Terror Dome. 911 is a joke. Can't do nothing for your man. And fight the power. That would be like the soul that maybe had to find the root. Then you had the album that was certified platinum. So Fear of a Black Planet overall led a resurgence in black consciousness among black leaders at the dawn of the 90s. Black consciousness became the ultimate subject matter among other hip hop acts like X Clan, Poor Rights Teachers, and Parish. Public Enemy was original revolutionaries in hip hop music. The group's contribution was political, social, and cultural consciousness. At number three, I had Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, original messages of rap. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five were pioneers of hip hop social commentary. The group from the South Bronx consisted of Grandmaster Flash's DJ, along with Melly Mel, Creole, Keith Cowboy, Scorpio, and Raheem. The group's contribution to hip hop was the use of turntablism, breakbeat DJing, stage routines, lyricism became a significant force in the development of hip hop, early hip hop music. The group's first successful single was Freedom in 1980 when then Birthday Party came out. Then the song in 1982 that would define the group forever was The Message. The song was produced by Clifton Jakes Chase. His name is not widely recognized, but his groundbreaking rhythm track helped propel hip hop into the future. Stark synthesizer echoed over the urban funk groove. The original demo of the song was written by Ed Fletcher. The message became the driving force of political and social commentary of hip hop. The social commentary theme continued in 1983 with White Lines, addressing warning against the dangerous consequences of using cocaine, addiction, and drug smuggling. The song became a signature track for Melly Mel. Overall, the group made their mark in hip hop. The MC who took the art of MCing to a high level was Melly Mel. He was the first rapper to call himself MC, but still for master of ceremonies. He was part of the original trio of great MCs in the first generation of hip hop, like Grandmaster Caz and Kumo D. Keith Cowboy created the term hip hop while teasing a friend who joined the U.S. Army by singing the words hip hop, in a way of mimicking the rhythmic cadence of marching soldiers. And then number two, I got Run DMC, Queen's Finest. Run DMC was the hip hop group that was the Game Changers, led by Run DMC and Jam Master Jay. Rest in peace to him. This group was a game changer. They changed the sound, look, and image of hip hop, obviously. The production style was stripped down beats. Their look was different from Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5. Sugar Hill Gang, they wore Stetson hats, leather jackets, and Adidas sneakers. They were at the advent of the new school of hip hop. Run DMC was the first to highlight the importance of the relationship between MC and the DJ. And the group did a lot first, having a gold album, a Grammy Award nomination, platinum album, a multi-platinum record, have a video on MTV, videos on MTV, making an appearance on American Bandstand, being on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, performing at Live Aid in 1985. These were the examples of why this group was in the top two of the greatest groups in hip hop history. Run DMC made their debut in 1983 with It's Like That, Suck MCs. In 1984, they released their first classic album in hip hop history. The self-titled album had songs like Jam Master Jay, Hard Times. Rock Box was a song that would be groundbreaking because the raw hip hop and hard rock that would be a signature sound of the group, which paved the way for the rap rock movement that would be commonplace in the late 90s. The second album was King of Rock, where Run DMC advanced on a rap influenced sound with heavy guitar riffs. The songs that stood out was the title track, You Talk Too Much, Can You Rock Like This? The album that would take the group to a mega superstar was 1986, Raising Hell. This album reached the levels of commercial success by going triple platinum. The song that would lead the group to that status was Walk This Way with Aerosmith. A song like Adidas, Peter Piper, You Be Illin', It's Tricky. Overall, Run DMC made a major impact on hip hop music. Their contribution will never be forgotten. And the number one greatest group of all time in hip hop history to me was a Tribe Called Quest. Hip hop's most perfect group. Reason why I say that because they made three consecutive classic albums. 1990s, People That Stick to Travels and Paths of Rhythm. 1991, The Low End Theory. And 1993, Midnight Marauders. Not many rap groups or solo artists ever accomplish this feat because it's easy to make a classic album when you make your debut. But you can do it, but can you do it three times in a row? Maybe Outkast, EPMD, Eric B. and Rakim. You can make a case they accomplish this feat, but unanimously Tribe surpasses them all. The group was led by Q-Tip, Phife Dawg, Ali Shaheed Muhammad, and Jarobi. The group was formed in 1985. The group's first album was 1990. People Instead Travels and Paths of Rhythm. The album dealt with a playful lyrical approach like Can I Kick It? Other titles that mention safe sex, vegetarianism, youth experiences. What made this album different was the sense of humor that made the album free from the hardcore and conscious hip hop that was prevalent at the time. Standout tracks off the album was Bonita Applebum, I Left My Wallet, and El Segundo. This album developed a devoted following within the alternative hip hop community. The album that would be the group's claim to fame was 1991's The Low End Theory. What made this album so different was the concept of the album. According to Q-Tip, Low End Theory was inspired by NWA Straight Outta Compton. The album had a straight bass sound because bassist Ron Carter was featured on Low End Theory. The album was one of the first albums to have a laid-back jazz atmosphere. The minimalist sound of the album was stripped to the essentials: vocals, drums, and bass. The bass, drum, and vocals emphasized the downbeat on every track. Overall, this album included hits like Check the Brown, Jazz, and Bugging Out, Scenario. Then to put the icing on the cake, the third consecutive album that was classic was Midnight Marauders. 1993, the group came out swinging with the first single, A World Tour. Then Electric Relaxation, Oh My God, completed the singles that came off the album. Midnight Marauders was Tribe's bestseller, and the album certified the group as alternative rap sound merchants. The final analysis, Tribe is one of a kind, the ability to distinguish themselves from the pack while rejecting the sophomore jinx, continue to make classic after classic. There will never be a group quite like Tribe Called Quest. All right, so that's it, man. That's the countdown of the top 50 greatest groups in hip hop that I wrote years ago, a decade ago. Show you the cover. This is it. That's it. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll do a live feed later on today, later on tonight. I was going to do one at 2 o'clock, but no. I want to rest my voice. So I'm going to do one tonight. I don't know what it's going to be about. I figure it out. Maybe be some baseball history. But may do 2 live feeds tonight. I'll see. But I enjoyed doing the 2 live feeds this morning and in the afternoon. So that's it for today's live feed about the top 50 greatest groups in hip-hop history, a book that I self-published a decade ago. Until then, talk to you later on tonight.